Now, it was just another Saturday morning when Martha Wanjiru received a call that would turn her world upside down. Her daughter in boarding school at Gatanga CCM Girls High School in Murang'a County has died. Reports on her death have only led to many questions, as the family, which recently buried their daughter, is still overwhelmed by emotions. NTV's investigative editor Dennis Okari tries to find answers to these pertinent questions. We would like to warn our viewers that some of the details in the story may be disturbing. Here is part one of Death in the Dorm.
And then she said, we've been trying to reach you. Your daughter is unwell. I would like you to come to InThe Hospital in Thika.
A phone call that any parent who has a child in boarding school dreads.
Then she called again and asked me, are you driving? I told her, yes, I could. She told me, do not come alone. I panicked.
For Martha Wanjiru Wangai, this was going to be the longest drive of her life. Covering a distance of about 76 kilometers in just under 2 hours, it was a drive into the unknown.
So I picked my phone and decided to call my cousin's sister who lives in Thika, around Del Monte area. And I told her what I had been told by the school. And I told her, you just please proceed. If you know this hospital, go check for me before I get there.
So I was also shaken. I left whatever I was doing and then headed to InThe Hospital. When I arrived there, I met the principal, an officer from the education office, a BOG chair, a teacher, and some others who are there.
A dark cloud hung over the hospital. In this video footage, Martha arrives at the hospital at 10:41 a.m. Moments later, she slips away from the reality that has just dawned on her. Death's cold, sullen stream washed over her. Gone too soon, Ebbie Samuels was only 15 years old. She was not supposed to be here, but in class for preps.
She was always this energetic person. She was always happy. She was the kind of friend that you'd always need.
You think of Ebbie, you just think of happiness. You think of just happy things. And even if she's not here now, I know that where she is, she'll just be bringing the same joy that she gave to us.
A heartbreaking send-off for Ebbie Samuels at her final resting place at the Langata Cemetery. She wanted to be a veterinary doctor one day. Eulogies from her family had one common theme. Noel was just a Form 1 student at Gatanga CCM Secondary School in Murang'a County when she met her untimely death on 9th of March 2019.
In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit.
At the burial, no one from her school was in attendance. Noel was only 2 months old at the school. According to medical reports, she was in good health and enjoyed sports. She had no history of illness, no hospital admissions. The mystery surrounding her death and what the family suspects is a cover-up has led to that nagging and unshakable question. What really happened?
I have buried my baby today, but I still feel that somebody somewhere. I have prayed. I have said I will not even be scared of nightmares. I am just ready to sort of even have her visit me and tell me, Mommy, this and this is what happened. Because I just need some form of information that I don't have. Yeah, that's what happened.
What they told her initially is Ebbie on Friday night had run the marathon, had run a cross country which is of 25 kilometers, and she came back and cleaned her clothes, ate her food, and said goodnight to her friends and went to sleep. And she never woke up to go for prep. So the students found her sleeping and they called the matron. And then the matron called the head teacher, and then the head teacher found out that she was not breathing properly. On their way to the hospital, she died. That story was not adding up to me. So what the head teacher was insisting initially was she got a heart attack. I was like, this is a 15 going 16-year-old. She's been running relays, short marathons in her school. She's won gold medals and trophies for running. Suddenly runs a cross country and dies. This is not right. There's something we're not being told.
They kept on telling us that she was breathing just a while ago. She was okay. So personally, I think she was long dead.
The school authority has given conflicting information on her death. At one point, the school matron even said she received treatment at the hospital, but the school principal had a different version of the story.
The principal told me that she came running and they took her to the hospital. As they were leaving the school, the dormitory, she told me that there was a bit of pulse at the chest, and she was a bit, she was not cold. So they rushed her to the Naidu hospital, and she was pronounced dead on arrival. When we went to where she was laid, we tried to touch her. She was very cold.
NTV Investigates has obtained CCTV footage of the day she was brought to the hospital. It's 7:37 a.m. at Naidu Hospital in Thika, according to the timestamp on this footage. It's a slow morning inside the hospital, and the night shift nurses and hospital personnel are still on duty. Outside the hospital, nothing unusual. The hospital gates are open to receive patients. At 7:37 a.m., a black vehicle pulls into a parking spot next to the hospital entrance as a female driver calls out to the security guard. The guard runs inside the hospital and calls the nurses on duty to come and help respond to what appears to be an emergency. He rushes back. The female driver then stops the car and comes out. She is the principal of Gatanga CCM Secondary School. What you're about to watch is distressing, and NTV has sought permission from the family to air this as it forms a crucial part of the story. The principal, Miss Veronica Wanjiru, comes out of the car and calls the nurses. It's 7:38 a.m. The back door is opened and two female occupants rush to pull out Noel. It's the school matron and her assistant. A worker at the hospital told us the principal told the nurses not to get a wheelchair or a stretcher because the patient couldn't walk. They carry her to the emergency room. It's still 7:38 a.m. As the nurses attend to her, a physician who was attending to other patients in the wards is called in.
The patient was lying on this bed here. The physician came, saw the patient, and actually even wrote his note on this card.
Were you there at that time?
I wasn't around that time. So when I came in 5 minutes after the patient came in. The physician saw the patient and handed over the patient to me. And I examined the patient again to confirm whether whatever was written on the notes was actually the factual information.
So what did What did the physician establish?
Yeah, the physician established that by the time the child came, the patient, there were no signs of life at all. Then we actually called the matron, plus the teachers that were there, and we informed them.
Outside the emergency room, the matron and principal were making phone calls. One of them was to Noel's mother. Who had to meet and explain to the family what happened. The doctor clocked in his notes before the arrival of a police officer 10 minutes later. The doctor's report contradicted the school's report that Noel was breathing when she arrived at Naidu Hospital. As a medical doctor, were you able to tell whether it was a fresh body or the girl had died a long time ago?
From the medical background or information that I have, I can be able to tell you that this is a patient who did not die maybe in the last 30 minutes, perhaps earlier than that, because even the patient was cold. And this doesn't really happen immediately after you die. It's something that may take even an hour.
To test this theory, we checked the exact time Noel was brought to hospital and the distance between the school and the hospital. To drive from Gatanga CCM Secondary School to Naidu Hospital in Thika with a relative speed of 80 kilometers per hour, it would take you between 21 and 30 minutes to cover the 17 kilometers distance with slight traffic.
We were driving in Naidu Hospital. While we were driving in, because I was seated on the passenger side, I saw the principal seated outside a pillar of the front, I think the entry of the hospital. And she was holding herself like that. And I panicked. I told my friend, why is this principal seated there like that? And she told me, don't read so much into it. Just go. So I got off the car, but my feet, I was just trembling. So I walked to her, tried to gather some courage, walked to her and told her, Mwalimu, I am Mama Ebbie. I shook her hand and she just looked at me with a blank face like that. And then before she said anything, so she looked at me and I looked behind her and I see my cousin sister, who I had called, with my cousin brother, I think she called him, and another cousin sister of mine who lives in Maragua. They were both coming out from the hospital with these somber looks on their faces. And when she saw me, she just came and held my hands. And I asked her, what is it? Just tell me, what is it? She said that she didn't die. She just went to sleep. I was so pissed. I just pushed them aside and walked away. You know, I just felt like my head was freezing. Of course, I lost my mind for a moment there. And I cried my head off. I don't know for how long. And when I gathered courage, I said, I want to see my daughter.
Did Noel die in the principal's car while on the way to hospital? Did it happen immediately she arrived at the hospital, or did it happen in school?
Uncovered the body, the head, and I went straight to the forehead. But I realized she was very cold, you know, as if she was very cold. So for me, from that point on, I thought she must have died a long time.
This medical report on algor and rigor mortis in a temperate region shows the time since death for a body to stiffen and the temperature to go down from warm to cold is between 8 to 36 hours. For investigators, the time of death is just one clue. The next piece of evidence about what happened to Noel lies in the post-mortem exam. The autopsy on Noel's body was done by 3 pathologists representing the family, the government and the school. Dr. Peter Maturi, Dr. Grace Midigo and Dr. Okwema performed the autopsy at Montezuma on 11th of March 2019 at 4 p.m. The post-mortem lasted 2 hours. The autopsy findings on the general appearance, external appearance, internal appearance, cardiovascular system records everything was normal. But the pathologist noted something in the central nervous system.
The main findings we found in this body was She had bleeding into the brain, what you call subdural hemorrhage, and also some subgallio hemorrhage, which then made us to conclude that that was the cause of death, hemorrhage in the brain.
Hemorrhage and it was a result of what exactly?
Yes, this type of hemorrhage, this was due to blunt force trauma, which means that you get hit by something that's not sharp, which is blunt, and then you bleed into the brain.
Noel's case had been reported at the Kirara police station that Saturday morning. A police officer at the station told us. Beatrice Kiragori, the OCPD who lived in the school compound, was the first one to arrive at the dormitory before Noel was moved to Naidu Hospital by the principal and 2 matrons.
Ni nani alikuwa anaishi kwa shule? We were told kuna officer alikuwa anaishi ndani ya shule.
That was the OCPD former, the one who was
left.
She. Yes.
Oh, it's a she?
Yes. She was the OCPD. She was housed in the school, but she already moved and she's already transferred.
The police report in our possession reads in part, several students from our dormitory and bedmates have been interviewed on the events between 8th March and 9th March and no foul play suspected. It was established that the student had fallen down from a decker bed on 28th of January 2019 morning while on a dream. It was not brought to the attention of the administration since there were no injuries and nobody, including the deceased, raised any concern. That statement from the police contradicts the autopsy report.
The injury we found, the bleeding found was fresh. It was something that had happened within a short time. So the possibility of the person having been injured 2 months prior to the death is not viable, because then what you find is a clot, a formed clot, or what you call old blood. In this case, there was fresh blood.
The police report says Noel fell from her bed in January. She never reported the incident like it said and never mentioned it to her mother. But assuming she fell and sustained an injury, what was the distance between her bed and the floor, and what would be the natural position while falling?
The point was on the back here. That's what we call the occipital region. Even when you are dead asleep, normally the body will react and you'll follow either with your hands first or the frontal aspect, you turn on the side. So most times the injuries we get when somebody has fallen from a height or from a bed will be on the side. That's what we call the temporal side or the front. We asked the school matron where the child or the girl where she sleeps normally. And she told us herself that the child was sleeping on the lower bed because of she used to wet the bed, and she's been told to sleep on the lower bed because of that reason. So that's one. The second one was the distance according to the principal. This girl was breathing when they picked her from the bed, and when even in the car she was breathing. And the distance from the school to the hospital where they went, about 15 minutes drive. And when arriving there, the doctor declared Bruton dead.
Reasons why such a young life was snuffed out are still unknown. Who did it and why is still not known. The family believes Noel was profiled by her teachers and she didn't have an easy time in the school.
When we went for the Form 1 orientation meeting, I'm seated in the school hall full of parents, and all the teachers are giving their speeches and everything, and the deputy principal stands up and gives a speech and then says that in fact there is one girl here who is pretending. No, not pretending. She said claiming to be a Jamaican. I'm seated in that hall and I thought, could she be talking about my child? You know? And I didn't take it very well. Ebbie had her best friend in Form 1 North, who they really got along. So these two teachers apparently told that girl they don't want to see her with Ebbie.
Back at home, her room, her medals, her pictures are the only things left, plus this bucket of her wet school clothes that her mother was begrudgingly told to pick up.
Can I see where my child was sleeping? I just need some closure to see where my child was sleeping. She refused. She said that it will cause a lot of anxiety in the girls. Or some of them had fainted when we broke the news to them and all that. My pastor told her, oh, so the girls will faint. Ours is dead. Why can't we just see? She refused again.
We visited the school to try and get answers from the principal and for the family to get closure on what happened here. A day has passed since her burial, and just standing there looking at the girls go about their cleaning, I couldn't help but think Noel should have been here doing this.
So we've talked to almost everyone else but the principal. So we came here to try and get her to talk to us, but the teacher on duty says that she's not around. So she's phoned her, but her phone is not going through. So I've left my phone number for her to reach me when she comes back. She stays in the school. So at the moment, it's now a game of waiting. Let's see if she's going to call and talk to us.
The principal of Gatanga CCM Secondary School never called. Noel's mother was too broken to eulogize her daughter. Dennis Okari, NTV Investigates.